When a brand new building in the city of Toronto closes, there's a time-honored tradition for all the investors who invested in that pre-construction project to rush onto market. And as a realtor, when I'm representing a tenant or buyer, these opportunities are ripe. When we're representing the sellers or the landlords in today's down market, these circumstances are not opportunities, they're challenges. And I've discussed this many times in the past, but there are a lot of examples that just keep coming up. For example, let's take a look at this one. We have 81 the Queensway in the Etobicoke Curio Condos by Maryland Spring Developments, and it's a brand new building. It's still on the pre-construction interface on condos.ca, but you know, it's been built, the units are done, the floors are done, and what this has resulted in is a flurry of inventory coming on market at the same time. I mean, let's take a look. Here we have all the units in 801 the Queensway that are on market right now at this time of recording of this video for lease, for rent. That is a total of 27 results, as you guys can see. And guess what? It is only a 8-9 story tower, and not all units have closed. Most have, but not all. So this is not even the extent of it. To these units, the smaller one beds with no parking, obviously, because as you can see, parking is quite scarce in this building. And in terms of pricing, you have units as cheap as $1,800 for the studios. You have units starting around the $1,900 price point for one beds and one washes, and then 1+1's $2,200, $2,250, $2,300. And one thing to note, when a building is this brand new, pricing is all over the place, like legitimately all over the place. Some sellers and landlords are confused. Some sellers and landlords are unreasonable. Some sellers and landlords are desperate. This leads to significant overpricing, significant underpricing. And this might sound like an exaggerated analogy, and to a certain extent it is, but imagine a room where the oxygen is running out and you have a bunch of people doing whatever they can to get out of this room. Essentially, well, that's what's happening, right? Because these properties, and we'll go through some of the sizes and units, were purchased at substantially higher price per square foot than they can sell in today's market and rent in today's market to make it even feasible. In a sense, and this is really the main thrust of this video, these pre-con investors who managed to get over the hurdle of getting approved and managed to get over the hurdle of actually being able to close, which kind of makes them the 1% really, because there's a lot of pre-con investors, unfortunately, who are closing in today's market that are unable to close. These select few that have actually made it through the finish line now are stuck with this poor investment, in a way subsidizing really low rents for tenants. And in roundabout way, I guess what I'm trying to say is what's happening is pre-con investors are subsidizing rents for the tenant class in the city of Toronto. Let's elaborate on this a bit further. For example, let's go back to these units for rent on market. And by the way, you can see barely any parking, right? Out of all these units, only 4 or 5 actually come with parking. Nonetheless, as a sample, let's select this unit, unit 507 and 809. But nonetheless, as an example, let's select this, for example, unit to talk about, unit 607 and 809, the Queensway, asking for 1,950. It's listed at exactly 500 square feet above grade. Taking a look at the photos, it's a very small unit. One of the benefits of this building, actually, they have really good green residential views. The unit I have on market for rent in this building has really good green residential views. But, you know, for example, this one bedroom has this middle of the floor planned bedroom, as you can see. As one of my clients once called it, the fishbowl bedroom. And not much to speak about in terms of the listing photos. I mean, really bare minimum here. What are you gonna really do with 500 square feet, right? The point here is this unit at 607 at 500 square feet was most certainly purchased around $1,200 a square foot, $1,150. That's in the best of case scenarios, I would say. In today's market, this would not fetch $1,000 a square foot. $950 a square foot. And I say this confidently, knowing the market in Etobicoke and Mimico and Toronto and the GTA, you know, not like the back of my hands, but having a pretty good grasp on it, I would say. The rental market is not any friendly either. This won't go for $1,950. It will probably go around for $1,900. And if it does go for $1,950, which is not out of the realm of possibility, that barely is going to cover the cost, assuming the basics on the, you know, owner's side, 20% down, you know, current mortgage rates. It's not going to cover the cost. It simply will not cover the costs. And as the representative of one of the units in this building, it's very much so a challenge for us, right? We are getting viewings, but the competition, right? Everyone just goes on market at the same time. Let me give you a happy ending story to this, right? An example where another building was just closing. The seller slash owner came to me saying, Sam, just closed on this. We did the numbers, doesn't make sense to sell. We have to go on market for rent, and guess what? There is like 30 other units for rent in the same building, and we actually made it work. Here we're talking about another Maryland Spring Developments, 181 Sterling, or in this case on the condos.ca page is going to show 158, so 202 Sterling, but the exact building we worked with was 181. Right now, the inventory is actually quite reasonable, 4 for sale. By the way, the 4 for sale, mind you, is only by the builder, the unsold inventory of the builders. Owners are technically still not owners in this building. They haven't closed on their transaction. The builder still technically owns the units. So right now the quote-unquote owners or the purchasers at the pre-con level are not allowed to list it for sale because the builder hasn't sold all their inventory and most of them haven't closed with the builder. Nonetheless, the 8 for rent are from the quote-unquote owners right now. And that's pretty reasonable. 8 is not absurd like the 27 or the 30 or whatever. And this is the unit yours truly helped a owner in this building rent out when it was fresh, new, just finished. Look, the end result was good, right? This is the unit in question once again. These are the photos we did for our client in this case, right? So better than cell phone photos. It helps a bit to attract tenants. But when we took on this listing, our unit was dime a dozen, right? There was 10 other units kind of like this, a little bit better, a little bit worse, on market at the same time for rent, a little bit higher, a little bit less. So we ended up leasing it out, and to qualified tenants, of course, we always have to make sure it's qualified tenants, for $2,600. But you know, it's not all rosy. Here it was 12 days on market, but we had to terminate once, right? This is the previous listing where we were at $2,650, and this was on market for 35 days, right? So I still think I did a pretty great job because there were listings in this building that were significantly overpriced, like the 12 units. We have 1512. There was a 1612 listed for like, you know, $2,900, which is ridiculous. It's the same exact floor plan as ours. Point is though, you know, yeah, 35 days, I did a pretty decent job, but it wasn't easy. And this is really the trap and this is really the unfortunate circumstance a lot of people are finding themselves in. But on the flip side, for buyers and tenants, it's really good news. It's really good ripe opportunity. Now, with buyers, it's a bit of a different story, right? I always am hesitant to take buyers, even though there's a lot of inventory at the same time in these brand new, just finished buildings, because you're betting on a kind of a unproven product. And oftentimes within the first year and a half, the new buildings are a nightmare. I've made separate videos about brand new buildings that are awful. It's just a higher risk to go into a brand new building, in my professional opinion. But for tenants, of course, we still have to make sure we're selecting quality, but you know, you're not buying. It's a little bit more of a weaker commitment, let's say. So definitely ripe opportunities there. Anyways, as always, as I say, no one knows the Toronto condo market as well as I do. So for any buying, selling, leasing inquiries, you already know what to do. Get in touch with me. My link is in the bio. Book a call. Easier than ever to book a call with me. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.